Let's move now to Parliament. Deputy President David Mabuza has praised Eskom's leadership for its transparency. Mabuza has reiterated government won't privatise the embattled power utility. He was facing tough questions today from members of Parliament around his visit to Russia and whether he used state funding for his medical care. eNCA reporter Lindsay Dentlinger has been following the developments and she joins us live from Cape Town. Hi, Lindsay. So this issue of the Deputy President going to Russia for medical treatment, we still haven't found out exactly what for, but the MPs tried to get some answers today. Tell us more.
Well, Sally, it's not the first time that the opposition have been hammering on this particular issue, and we know it's also not the first time that the Deputy President makes trips to Russia for medical care. He was asked questions in August. There were written questions from the DA trying to get to the bottom of it, but today he actually had to answer directly as to what that trip to Russia was about. He confirmed that it was purely, he called it a scheduled visit with his medical team in Russia. He said the entire duration of his stay was in hospital. This was because the DA had asked him to provide details of any people that he might have met and discussions he might have had during that trip to Russia. And then, of course, Sally, you know, follow-up questions are allowed to be asked, but still the DA not happy. They were wanting to probe exactly what is this medical condition that the Deputy President seeks medical treatment in Russia for. But the new speaker, Nosiviwe Mapisa, not having any of it. She ruled the DA out of order. She said they were being insensitive and improper and that they couldn't probe an MP kind of medical treatment that he was seeking abroad and why he couldn't make use of medical facilities and medical know-how here in South Africa. But he put that to rest by saying that he had paid for his entire trip, including his flights to Russia. This was his very curt response to that initial question, Sally.
The trip that I've undertaken to the Russian Federation during my leave of absence was solely for the purpose of a scheduled medical consultation. As such, the consultation with my long-standing medical team was held as per the objective of the visit. And I've been in hospital for the duration of my stay there. I've covered the costs of my treatment, the traveling, 100%. No money was paid by the South African government towards my treatment.
Well, we're still intrigued. Maybe one day he'll write a book and tell us all about it. The Deputy President also spoke about Eskom. Did he say anything new, Lindsay?
Well, we know that these question and answer sessions don't go past, Sally, without the Deputy President being pelted with questions on Eskom. He does lead the government delegation that keeps tabs on what's happening there, and this being his final question and answer session for the year. Again, Sally, same questions being posed to him about whether the government would consider any further bailouts, what the EFF again asking about plans to privatize Eskom, and again the Deputy President reiterating that there were no such plans, that government had already lent all the support to Eskom financially anyway, that all that money has already been set out and that its current financial situation that will not affect any of that money that is due to Eskom from state coffers. And then Sally saying that he had full trust in the board and the management of Eskom. He said he believed that they were the best set of people to turn that ship around, and that we, again, Sally, have to be understanding that they had inherited all this old infrastructure, all this unplanned maintenance that has to happen, which then leads to load shedding. But he continued to put his faith in those in the leadership roles at Eskom. This is what he had to say.
We should support the Eskom board and the Eskom administrative leadership. There is no intention on the side of government to sell Eskom. Eskom must be supported like we've done so It's very important in the life of the economy of the country. And I don't see any in our vocabulary of starting to think about selling Eskom. The President has appointed a state-owned council. This council is tasked with the assignment of looking at best options and the restructuring of all these SOEs, companies.
So, Lindsay, you mentioned that the new Speaker, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, clamped down really hard when people tried to butt in with extra questions for the Deputy President. Bearing in mind that it's only been a few months now that she's been in the job of Speaker, and it's such a crucial role in Parliament, do you think she's going to be markedly different to her predecessors in her tone, her style, her attitude, particularly towards the opposition?
Well, we know in the past, I'm not quite sure that we should name them, but that speakers in the past have been accused of not being impartial enough. Baleka Mbete, particularly, we know in the Nkandla issue, we know that she was often criticized for protecting the former President Jacob Zuma in the House when it came to question time. And really today we really saw the new speaker being quite firm and really sticking to the rule book, Sally. I mean, we've got to be fair here that any supplementary questions that are asked of the already prepared questions have to relate directly. They are follow-up questions for that very reason, so they must relate to the original question. And it just so happened that the very first question was about the Deputy President's medical condition, and I think the Speaker felt particularly that the Deputy President was in a vulnerable position there, and she openly said, I'm going to be protecting the Deputy President here, and she told the DA's Natasha Mazzoni, who also sits on the Rules Committee, you can take this matter to the Rules Committee, you can go and discuss whether I'm being unfair, but we've got to draw the line here when it comes to people's medical knowledge, their medical condition, that it was unfair, the confidentiality had to be respected. But we did certainly see a firmer hand today from the new Speaker. As I said, she has been finding her feet and taking advice during question and answer sessions to date, not only with the Deputy President but also the President. She has been taking advice, but today she really clamped down not only on this particular question but on others as well, that MPs ask questions directly related to those that have been prepared by the Deputy President and not step out of line and try to use the opportunity, as we've seen so many times in the past, Sally, where particularly the opposition use the opportunity to get in a question of maybe a recent development that happened in the time in between those questions being submitted and the question and answer session. So Thandi Modise obviously didn't have a full 5-year term in the seat. She was very firm, very fair of what we saw in question times, and she allowed a lot. She in her time she allowed people to push the boundaries until she really felt it had gone too far. But today the new Speaker, quite firm. She wasn't even going to let some of them complete their questions, immediately ruling them out of order if she felt that they were not directly related to the questions that the Deputy President was expected to answer.
Thank you so much. eNCA reporter in Parliament, Lindsay Dentlinger.